Welcome to Pod Potatoes.
Is it called pod potatoes?
Yeah, like a pod.
You ready, miss?
Oh, Cobb salad.
Cobb salad,
with blue
cheese.
cheese.
Blue cheese.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Do you toss it?
You want that in chop?
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
And then, this is called Pod Potatoes. Like if you're people who sit around watching television all day.
Right.
Like couch potatoes.
Oh yeah.
And people
Oh,
that
cute.
sit around
That's
listening
cute.
to
The cheesecake.
Podcast.
You want the strawberry or plain cheesecake?
just plain.
No.
And then don't put your old nasty strawberries on my cheesecake. Usually like a month old whenever they put them on there.
Just a month old.
These flaccid, droopy things they put on there. Oh yeah, it's a strawberry. We're charging you $5 for it.
Yummy. How long have you been doing the podcast?
For about a year and a half, and I keep stopping and starting and stopping and
So
starting.
it's not every week. It's just kind of.
Just kind of lazy, flopping around, very casual.
Right.
You know, and I found lucky enough to find this guy who puts it up for me and
Oh,
transcribes it for me, and I don't know. Hopefully someday I'll pay him, but he just does it, and it goes on to his website called, I guess it's WordPress website.
Oh.
And then he puts it onto YouTube. It used to go up onto iTunes, but maybe we'll make a dump onto iTunes later, like another dump when we have another 20 or 30 of them.
Right.
That's taking these pills to stop coughing.
Coffee. Where do you live in Hollywood?
I live on. Oh, it's a secret. I can't tell.
Oh, geez.
I don't want all my fans mobbing me.
Are you recording
camping
now?
outside. Yeah.
You're recording now?
Yeah.
Oh. When did you start recording? Hi, everybody.
Really early.
Hi, everyone.
As soon as we got here.
Gee,
Yeah.
are you serious?
Yeah. It's a very casual show. It's supposed to be just like sitting around,
I was expecting an action.
not even knowing that the recording is on.
Wow.
You just forget it. You forget that the recording's on. And you just go.
I'm glad I didn't just tell you something.
Right. You have to, well, that's good. This is kind of, now my microphone's getting all flaccid. I don't know what's going on.
Oh, that's cool. A flaccid mic.
It's droopy.
Do you want me to touch it?
No. It's all right.
Touch your mic.
Yeah, I need a fluff girl for my mic.
We've been recording for 4 minutes and 38,
38 seconds,
39 seconds, 40 seconds.
Yeah. They're ordering the food. That's important to get that in there.
So people know what kind of person I am?
And the waitress needs to be in there. And just everything, just make it a casual thing. It's
so
like,
we're trying to lose weight.
Yeah. I was really skinny after I got out of the hospital. I died, and then I kept making excuses for myself. I just died. Can I have some cake?
What
I
happened?
just died.
What happened?
I died like twice in the hospital. It's a long story. And I think they've heard it before on this podcast, but I just had a necrotic. I had 200 gallstones in my gallbladder from having two alcoholic parents.
Wow.
And then I had it eventually killed my organ. My gallbladder died.
Wow.
So that was called a necrotic organ. So it was rotting inside of me. And then it burst open, and then it was leaking stomach acid in the 200 gallstones into the inside of my body. And so I was screaming.
And just one is supposed to be very, very painful.
Well, this was leaking into the inside of my body, so there were 200 gallstones wandering around and stomach acid wandering around inside of my flesh. So
how long ago was this?
A couple of years ago. And then I died twice. I screamed in the hospital for 12 hours before they finally cut me open. And then they gave me morphine. And I had this horrible, long, painful recovery. But I was really skinny when I got out of the hospital because I was lying there unconscious forever without any food, and they wouldn't really feed me because they were worried I was going to die if they fed me. So, anyway, I kept making excuses for myself. You know, I just died. Can I have some cake? You know, I just was like, I was just happy to be alive.
Well,
You
yeah.
know, so I started gaining weight. So that was bad. And now I've got to get back on the horse. And, you know, I keep cutting down on food. And I don't think, some people tell me I'm losing weight, but
Well, it's in your
I
mind
don't really
too.
feel like I am.
Because I'm like that. I feel like I would think about my weight so much that when you think about it too much, you become that.
Yeah.
So you need to retrain your mind. And I was just talking to a friend the other day. I was like, I don't understand why I didn't lose weight over the last month and a half, where I was just eating once a day because I had stomach problems and I didn't want to eat. It was painful. But I did. I lost 2 pounds in like a month and a half, and it really upset me. It's like, why in the hell can I lose weight? And as a woman, it's even harder.
Yeah, as a woman, it's even harder. I was watching the UFC last night, and you know they have 4 women's divisions in the UFC, and they have to make weight. It's really tough for the girls to make weight in the tougher than the men, you know, and that's why some of the women got busted for steroids, because they take steroids in order to lose weight. And now they test them. They're testing everyone. They're chasing all the steroids out of mixed martial arts. And so you see people with very normal physiques, like fighting. And in fact, now all throughout combat sports, you're seeing men that are heavy, and they're winning. So did you see the recent boxing champion?
No,
Joe
I don't watch that
Ruiz?
stuff.
He's like this fat guy. He just looks like this. He's this fat guy. He goes in there bouncing around, and he just beat the world champion. And he's just really fat. And he just looks like a normal fat guy.
But he kicked his ass with his
won.
belly.
And he won. And there's been guys in MMA that have these big guts.
But don't they have to be at the same weight?
They
like
do.
The same height, kind
They
of like
do.
the similarity.
Well, they have to be the same weight. They can be any height. So this guy's short, a lot shorter than this other guy, and the guy he beat was like a bodybuilder and was a head taller than him, and he beat him, he knocked him out, and that was that. And now he's the world champion. There's going to be a rematch. In fact, the other guy who's the lineal champion also is another guy that just looks fat, Tyson Fury. And he just looks like a normal guy. And he's the best boxer I've ever seen. But in MMA, too, they're finding, since they're getting rid of the steroids, in the upper weight classes, a lot of guys, they're not cutting weight. So you see guys coming into the UFC with these big, jiggly guts, and they're winning. Because it's like, what's the right body for fighting? And that's being questioned now. But a man having some weight on him could be helpful in fighting. There used to be this guy that was the one exception called Roy. Now you see it a lot, but his name was Roy Nelson. And he had this big old beer belly, and he was a heavyweight
he had
fighter.
More fun training, though.
Yeah, he had more fun training with eating a cheesesteak in the other hand and punching with the other one, right? And then he used to jump up. He was always in the top 5 in the UFC, which means in the top 5 heavyweights in the world. And when he was done knocking somebody out, he would usually jump up on the octagon and look at the audience and rub his big beer belly. And I used to call him the Kung Fu Panda. And anyway, now you see it more. Now the current heavyweight champion, in fact, there was a guy that was a 205-pound champion. And he decided to stop cutting weight and go up to heavyweight. Now he weighs about 135 pounds. 235 pounds, I'm sorry.
That's not a heavyweight.
He just looks like anyone's fat dad. And he is a dad. He has like 3 kids. And he's the most dangerous man in the world. And he beat the heavyweight champion after being the light heavyweight champion as well. So now he's just stopped cutting weight, and he's the heavyweight champion of the world, Daniel Cormier. And yeah, he just looks like anyone's fat uncle, you know, at the picnic with his shirt off.
We should start training.
I used to train jiu-jitsu and kickboxing, but I started having some other operations on my body, and then I stopped doing that. So, excuse me with the coughing. I tried to walk. I do walk and ride a bike and, exercise.
Ride the bike at the gym?
No,
Or-
just a regular bicycle that I have.
Isn't that hard in Hollywood? Because I used to live there. It was, oh my God, the traffic is.
You have to have shock absorbers on your bike. It's fine. You can ride in the middle of the night.
Do you wear a sexy helmet?
No. No helmets for me.
The orange vest?
No. Just riding around. Just watch out. Don't get hit by cars. Don't wear don't wear a Walkman.
Yeah, no. Yeah,
So
you
you
gotta
can
hear,
hear.
you gotta hear, yeah.
So you can hear. Although I used to ride those scooters around with my headphones in.
Like the birds, those things?
Yeah.
Okay.
That was dangerous. But it was just fun.
Well, those are dangerous.
I ride them all the time. I've got to stop because they cost money.
Those
I
aren't
need to
dangerous.
stop.
The people that are driving them are. They act like
And
it's
then
a car.
and then someone just scratched up my car. The first time in my life I have a new car. Someone just scratched up my car. The guy next to me in the parking lot just scratched up my car 9 times. There's 9
what, with
scratches
his,
with
what,
his
with
door.
His door?
Yeah.
How do you know it was him?
He has a bent door. That
Oh.
It's got a little point on it. It scratches my.
With your color paint?
It scratches my. It's just exact. You can measure it. It's the exact same height as his door. And there's no place where I parked my car 9 times, so there'd be 9 identical scratches in the
Oh
side
my
of my
God.
car. He's right. He's denying that it's him. I don't know what to do if my insurance doesn't cover it. I'm gonna have to pay for it. But call the highway patrol and see if they'll come out and make a report. Because technically it's a hit and run. If you scratch someone's car and you don't leave a note, it's a hit and run. So
Right, yeah.
I have to see if they'll come out and look
And you
at it
took
and make a
photos?
report. Yeah, I took photos.
You should take a photo with the measuring tape
Mm-hmm.
to show where it landed, and then where his car is, measure it for the same.
It's so obvious.
Measuring
Yeah, I
tape.
can do that. I will do that, but it's so obvious you can just look at it. First thing, I'm going to have them move my car to another parking space. And then other than that, I'm just going to have to look in to see if my insurance covers it. If it doesn't, I'm going to just be hassling them to pay me to fix the scratches because it's just ridiculous. It's just sad. Like my first time in my life,
it doesn't-
I have a new car and then someone wrecks it 9 times, 9 scratches in my car. And you can see he opens the door, it's up against my door, and then he sits down and then it goes like this. Like it bounces when you sit in your car, it goes down like an inch.
Yeah.
And you can see the scratch.
Oh.
There's 9 identical little Etch-a-Sketch up and down things where he sat down onto my paint on my brand new car. It really makes me mad. Just very, very angry. So I'm going to have to get So how long have you been doing this character of Kitty Fairlane? Just talk about that rather than me trying to lose weight and
Miss Kitty Fairlane. That's my alter ego. I've been Miss Kitty for about 9 years. So I do musical naughty comedy. So I do parodies of songs, and the more inappropriate and naughty, the better.
Beaver was really good. That was your best one that I saw. That was very funny. Beaver was great.
Well, I sing Peggy Lee's Fever.
And make it Beaver.
Yeah.
And it's a really funny piece.
Thank you.
So I'm having you back on next Sunday.
Yep.
And then I have to book. I book about 30 comics, and about 20 show up. About 30 female comics.
What, for that night?
And then about 20 of them
What?
show up. Yeah, just before the show, I start to get all these excuses.
Well, I don't play like that. When I commit, I
you're
commit.
serious about doing it.
I
So
commit.
many other comics, they're not serious about doing it. It's like, oh, my car is broken. Well, you don't have a friend with a car. There's not a bus.
There's
There's
Uber.
not a train. There's an Uber.
Yeah.
My car is broken. My brake's broken. My roommate has split ends. I have to fix her hair. I mean, my hamster has split ends. I mean, it's just like all these excuses start coming in.
It's called a work ethic.
Yeah.
No, I'll be honest if I can't show up, but I'm always on it. I mean, it's what I love doing, so.
Yeah, I just have to accept it. It's just something I accept, and then I book more comics. And some of them...
Do you each give them 5 minutes all the time, or do you vary the...
6 to 8.
Okay.
I give like 8 to 10.
Yeah, so come August 4th.
If I like you and you're doing well, it's sink or swim. You go up there, you got to give me a laugh in the first 30 seconds. You know? And if you're doing good, a lot of comics, they want 8 minutes, but they're only getting laughs the first 3. They only got good material for the first 3, 4, 5 minutes, and then the laughs start to stop. Some comics get like not very good laughs at the beginning, and then their laughs get better as they go along. It depends, but it's sink or swim. If you're doing well, I'll give you more time.
Right.
If you're not doing well, I'll give you less time. Sometimes the guy that's the producer overbooks the show, and I'm going to start putting people up really fast, which is why I try to put up all my comics that I book early and give them lots of time.
Right.
But sometimes it's better to go on late, because that's when more people are there.
Yeah.
That place can get really packed. So it depends.
It's good too because you cast a lot of female comics.
That's what he wants, so I book female comics.
Oh, good.
So he likes that. So that's what I do. So I'm going through every female comic and I like. Certain comics that always show up, I book them again and again.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of female comics that just aren't serious about doing it. It's just not, they're just not serious. They're just not showing up. I mean, the excuses I get are incredibly lame. I have to pick my, mom up at the airport, How is that an excuse? Your mom takes an Uber because you have a gig. People are depending on you to be there. And they're like, I hope this doesn't hurt my chances of getting booked again. Yes, it does. I'm never booking you again. Because I don't need that. And it's just like the comics that are serious, that are girls, have to deal with the fact that a lot of female comics are not serious, and they get a bad rep. And other bookers as well have told me the same thing. In fact, I had one guy who keeps track of how many times different girls have flaked out. So he has like a list.
Oh my God.
He has a list of all the comics that have been on his show. And then through the years, 5, 6 years, and then he has a list of how many haven't shown up, how many have flaked out, and who's the record flaker, and all the top didn't show uppers are like women, unfortunately.
Wow.
So it's just too bad.
Well,
and sometimes the women, they blame us. They say, well, this and that and all this other stuff. You shouldn't have to say anything special to a woman to go there. If I say to a guy, hey, there's a show, grunt, yes, and they're there an hour early with their dicks hard, ready to go, I think I went over this on my last podcast. So the last podcast, they're going to hear the same thing. You said that last time, Mark. Oh, well. And then female comics will be mad at me for saying that at all.
Yeah, but there's also male flakers
And
too.
there are male flakes,
But
but not as many.
do you have
From
more?
my
But you have
experience.
more women, so it's probably more obvious.
No, just whenever I do shows that are mixed, it's
Okay.
the women comics. If somebody doesn't show up, it's usually a female comic.
Do you incorporate the fact maybe they're coming from another show and can't make it? Does that ever happen?
I don't know why it is, but if you have too many shows,
Because I was honest with you about coming
then
later.
don't show up. And I'm not the only booker that says that.
Just be honest. You
Huh?
know? Just be honest.
Well, also the male comics, you book them, they show up on time. Women comics are more likely to come late, or not at all, and more likely to pull an attitude when they get there. I have like them pulling attitudes. This show isn't cool enough for me. There's not enough people here. Et cetera, et cetera. That's the way that it is. Dealing with female comics is harder than dealing with male comics. Male comics show up. There are a lot of male comics that flake out. That's true. But I booked Ant. Ant's a multimillionaire, and he shows up every single time. I've had Ant on this podcast. And he's a wonderful guy. And he's been on Leno a couple times. He doesn't even need to do comedy. He's already a successful businessman. But he shows up. But I always say, I'm sure it's my fault. I'm sure there's something I'm not saying to the women that are making them uncomfortable or something. Who knows? But I don't say anything different to the male comics than I do to the female comics. And I just say, this is the show. I'm polite, nice. But all bookers tell me that I know. I didn't know any bookers that don't tell me that female comics are harder to get to show up. Maybe because there's more demand and they're rarer, so they get other gigs. Who knows? Who knows why? But see, you as a female comic, you're serious about it. You're going to show up. And you have to deal with that perception from the bookers, whether they're male or female. Because I've heard it from male and female bookers also who book shows.
Yeah. Well, that's a bummer. I didn't realize that.
Yeah. No, it's totally true. Well, probably because you're serious and you show up.
Yeah.
You obviously put a lot of work.
This is what I want to be doing. I have my day job, but this isn't paying my bills. But I get a high performing, and I love making people laugh.
Well, you could do that same character on a sitcom, playing a waitress in a diner. I mean, anything. You could do that character, anywhere. Kind of a John Waters. Who's that guy that did Polyester and...
Yeah.
That sort of reminds me.
Very, very kitschy.
Is it John Waters? Is that his name?
I'm a cross between Jane Mansfield and Betty Boop.
Richard Waters? What is his name?
John Waters?
John Waters?
Yeah.
That's his name. Okay.
Yeah.
And those are some of my favorite films. I love those films.
Yeah, I love that. I love the kitsch factor.
Yeah, the kitsch factor is wonderful, and I love that in my jokes. A lot of people don't get that in my jokes, that I'm intentionally trying to be kitschy, that I love the jokes to be dripping with kitsch and to be like bad and to be like kind of hacky, but too twisted to really be hacky. A lot of people don't get that about it, but that's fine. I enjoy doing it. I enjoy the reactions of the people to the jokes, and not all my jokes are that way because that's just hard to write.
Well, also comedy, not everyone's going to get it.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who aren't going to get your comedy. I mean, there's so many comics.
Well, there's so many different styles. It's like music. Not everyone's going to like the same
Yeah.
music, the same movies. So it's comedy, the same thing. You want people to love you and to laugh, but some of them won't get it. But you as an artist have to still perform what you feel is right. It doesn't matter what they say. You have to...
Especially now, comedy
Right,
is so
what comes out
fractured
naturally.
into so many different genres. Like, who's that guy? What is his last name? I'm trying to think. He was one of the most, and the guy who just didn't get the job on the Oscars because he had some jokes about homosexuals on his Twitter from like 9 years ago.
Was
What
Kevin
is
something?
his name? Kevin. Oh God, who is it? Look it up.
Let me Google. Come on, people.
Kevin Hart? Is that
Yes.
his name?
Yeah.
And you know, I don't think the guy is funny at all. I watch his comedy. I went into the movie theater and watched his comedy in the movie theater.
Mm-hmm.
And I think once they went, you know, I mean, I just don't think it's funny. But he's got huge.
But it's okay. He has a huge
stadiums,
following, and other people do. So
huge
that's
stadiums full
awesome
of people.
for him, you know.
Brown staying in their underwear, laughing at him. Good for him. I don't think it's funny at all.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, Kevin Hart. Yeah, Kevin Hart. That's his name. Yeah, and it was so stupid at the Oscars because, like, where are they going to find another Kevin Hart, you know, to host the Oscars? Where are they going to find somebody else like that who's able to do a job like that, who most people think is funny, unlike me, and who is, you know, the kind of demographic that they're looking for? They're trying to be more inclusive in the Oscars and not have a white male every single time, you know,
Right.
host the Oscars. So they have him, and he's perfect for it. But, you know, he has gay jokes on his jokes. They're not even making fun of gay people. He's almost making fun of people that are homophobic. And that could be an angle of looking at those jokes. Or he's playing a character that's homophobic in those jokes in order to make people laugh. And, you know, it just hurt the Oscars. It didn't hurt him. He doesn't care. He's already got $20 million in the bank. And they lost an opportunity with this guy. And it's just like, and I'm glad he didn't apologize. He said, I've already apologized for this. And I'm glad he took a stand because hopefully it'll put the brakes on that kind of thing in the future because it's just ridiculous. And I think it's 8 people on Twitter, you know. I don't think it's a lot of people that really care. There's just 8 people on Twitter that care, 80 people on Twitter that care. Mm-hmm. And that's it. And, you know, I don't, listening to the jokes, if there were like really nasty, mean-hearted jokes about gay people, I would dislike it. I don't want to hear that stuff. I don't want people to go around, you know, bashing queer gay people.
Well, no, they had too much of a beating.
But
Knock it off.
But if you're doing character, the joke is a joke. I always say there's no such thing as a racist or homophobic or sexist joke because it's a joke. Mm-hmm. You know, it's just a joke. That's all it is. You know, and for me, it just depends on do they mean it in a vicious or mean way. And that would bother me if I hear something like that. Well, I think this person is really hateful and trying to encourage hate towards somebody. Then I'm sure I wouldn't like it. You know, but I do it all the time. I'm playing a character in that joke, or you're saying something that's intentionally shocking or ugly. Mm-hmm. That's humor. That's what humor is.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's like Andrew Dice Clay is making fun of the macho, homophobic, sexist man. That's not a character that he's playing that's like, oh, I'm wonderful. Guys like to watch him because every guy sees a little bit of that idiot in themselves.
Right.
You know, he's playing an idiot, you know. Andrew Dice Clay is playing an idiot. He's not, and he knows it. He's not, his character isn't that of, you know, the ideal man, you know. His character is that of
He's not the ideal man.
Idiot.
What? I know those glasses turn me on.
Yeah. Those sunglasses.
He's pretty cute.
Yeah.
He's pretty funny, yeah. I like him.
He's a very funny guy. He was funnier before, and now he's, you know, have you seen him act? Have you seen him in his acting? He's an amazing actor. He really is.
Yeah, well, he did a movie with Kate Winslet. He played in, I can't think of it.
And Woody Allen movies?
Yeah.
And he's just
like,
fantastic.
But he had a lull in his career for a while.
He did.
And I think he got too cocky, and then he found himself again. He's got more raw material and just, you know.
I think he was spending time with his kids. He took some time off, spent some time with his kids. And I think that I don't know. He was making millions of dollars. I don't know if he's still a multi-millionaire. I have no idea. So many of those guys have said that they had a lot of money and they lost it. What's his face? Dane Cook said his brother was in charge of his business and stole all of his money and spent it.
What?
Yeah. He put his brother in charge of his business, and his brother stole all his money and spent it, and he had to have his brother arrested and put in jail. It was his half brother.
Oh, wow.
But he trusted him to run his business and put the money in the accounts, and he wasn't putting the money in the accounts. They were just spending it on lavish vacations and boats and homes and stuff like that.
That's pretty shitty.
Yeah, Dane Cook talks about it if you go and you look him up. But he had his money stolen, so watch out. Don't trust your brother. My brother, unfortunately, pushes me away. He goes onto my Facebook and gets drunk and starts writing bad stuff about me.
Oh.
From 20 years ago when he doesn't even know me. He hasn't really seen me in 20 years. I blocked him for a while. Now he's unblocked. But he's a cross-dresser. I do routines about him. I don't know if he gets offended by it. I don't know if he does or not.
How long has he been cross-dressing?
I guess his whole life he thought he was a girl his whole life. He has it's called gender dysphoria, and he's been seeing a psychiatrist for it since he was a kid, and he says that, I guess since he was a teenager, and he says that, and I didn't even know that he was seeing a psychiatrist. I knew that I was, but I didn't know that he was. My two alcoholic parents used to send me to a psychiatrist when I was little to find out what was wrong with me. That was they used to think there was something wrong with me. It's my fault, you know?
Oh.
So, anyway, he says the only cure for it is suicide.
Oh, gosh.
So, and that's I guess, they have a 42% chance of suicide. And then unfortunately, if they transition, it's even higher chance of suicide, 2 or 3% more, because it doesn't do for them what they want.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, it's not the norm to feel that, but they do. I mean, I couldn't imagine. I'm a woman. I hope I sound like one, but I couldn't imagine being in this body, but feeling that I'm a man. That's how I feel, and that is you're in your own prison. Sure, thank you.
I know what.
You're you're imprisoned in your own body. So it's weird, but it's could you actually put yourself in their shoes?
Right.
You have to do that to feel that, but you can't even get to that depth.
No one, is gay or transgender or anything like that in order to make their life easier.
Well, they wouldn't have picked that road to make their life harder.
No one would have done that.
Yeah.
No one decides. It's not something you decide. It's something
it's
that
torture.
That lands torture. On you. Everyone's sexuality lands on them.
Yes.
No matter what it is.
Yeah.
And there's a huge variety. I've dated a lot of different women through the years, and the variety of sexual differences and fetishes. I don't know if I'm attracting women that are very different, but there's a huge amount of just differences in sexually what women like and their thing. So, and with people in general. So, who knows? I have no idea why he feels that way, but evidently it's something that can be cured. They've never been able to, cure.
Well, it's okay. The thing that's going to cure him is to do what makes him happy, as long as he's not hurting anybody. He feels happier in a dress, then wear a dress.
Yeah, but unfortunately that's not helping. It's not increasing the suicide rate of people that have gender dysphoria. That's not decreasing it. transitioning is increasing it slightly, even if they live in a very supportive environment of them. So the research just shows it's a problem no matter what. Because no matter what...
Well, they're depressed because it's not accepted. That's why they're depressed.
There's research where they go into a group of people that accepts them completely, like they move.
Yeah, that's
into
one
a
little
gay
group,
area
though.
of
That's
San
one little
Francisco.
group. That's not reality.
And they're employed there, and they live there.
Yeah.
And it still doesn't help. So unfortunately.
Yeah, because they're still hiding out their life in one place.
I don't know if it's true, but I have to go with the medical research of what it says. It may or may not be that. I don't know. They're in a completely accepting environment, and they're living and working, and it still doesn't help. I think it's also because
they're not accepted.
They still look like men dressed as a woman.
Yeah, because they're too old to have the change, and now, it doesn't look right. It looks like a man who's going through a change. Then if they were younger, they had young enough to go through that transition with their voice.
Some.
I Am Jazz. Have you seen that?
What?
I Am Jazz on TLC.
There was a woman who posed in Playboy. It used to be a man, and she had lots of hormones. She was just in it was one photo. But the thing is, they have broad shoulders and narrow hips.
Well, the voice, too, that Adam's apple.
Well, they can have that changed also and have it shaved and have that all changed also.
Yeah, that costs money.
All that costs money.
A lot of money.
So they'll have to continue to research and, find out what it is. But I'm not... So far, the data doesn't show that it's because they're not accepted. A lot of people are not accepted. I'm not accepted,
What do you mean you're not accepted?
Yeah, generally.
What do you mean?
People don't accept me.
Why?
As I am. I'm a libertarian. I disagree with most people politically. So, I offend people on the left and the right. I'm not accepted. I've ran for office as a libertarian. I've been on the ballot. And I'm not accepted. A lot of people don't accept my personality. A lot of people don't accept me. That's just the way that it is. And
well, that's normal. Not everyone's going to like.
Not everyone's going to like you.
Right.
And for whatever reason, I'll rub some people the wrong way.
It goes the same way. You're not going to like other people.
But I'm not going to like everybody else.
Right.
And that's okay. But that's the way it is for, a lot of people out there.
You have to love
world.
yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You have to love yourself. You have to like yourself. If there's a reason why people don't like you, it's because you're mean or something, you're a jerk, then try to fix that. Not you, I'm just saying in general.
Yeah, I don't know.
Or if you're a bitch.
Sometimes there are people
don't be a bitch.
Sometimes there are people that are really mean and they're really bitchy, or they're really bitchy, and everyone loves them. Have you encountered those
Not
people?
everybody loves them, no.
Some people, but they'll be very popular, and everyone will love them, and they'll just be like really rotten people, I don't know why that is. Some people just have that thing,
I don't hang out with rotten people, so I wouldn't know.
Well, I see them around, I see them in the entertainment industry, in the fringes of the entertainment industry. So what about your YouTube?
It's because they make money off their movies, maybe. But they don't know them as a person. People don't know them as a person.
Or they're just in a group of
assholes.
A group of people, and everyone just seems to look up to them, and they just treat everyone like shit. And then maybe the people that are around them have like low self-esteem or whatever. I don't know. But I've just seen those people around. And I see them around in the comedy world as well, and also outside of the comedy world, and they're just they're just mean and complete assholes to everyone, and everyone loves them. And then women too. There's women like that too, and they're out there in the real world.
In every neighborhood, there's an asshole, male or female.
Yeah.
Male or female.
A male or female asshole. So what have you done with Kitty Fairlane? What have you...
Miss Kitty.
Just doing the YouTube channel?
I'm doing, YouTube channel, and it's on Totally LA.
Right.
And it's the Miss Kitty Fairlane show. So I do little vignettes of Miss Kitty in her house or hitting the streets, Hollywood Boulevard. We just went to Venice. So it's her life being a struggling actress. And the trials and tribulations, and she's a bit delusional.
Right, as everyone is in Hollywood.
Yeah, and she's a starving actress, but maybe not starving. She could lose a few pounds, but no, it's so much fun to play. I like get a kick because people are like, "What the heck is that a real voice?
Well,
like,
I saw
is that real?"
your video at Flappers.
Right.
It's like I'm going through the female comics online because I'm booking like 30 of them every 2 weeks, and I look up a lot of the people online.
So you Google Flappers?
I saw your video on Flappers. I saw you.
Oh, cool.
And then I looked up video for Kitty Fairlane, and the Flappers came up.
Yay!
And and I was thinking, I've seen this. I saw her somewhere at some point. But when I saw the video, I thought, okay, that's really fun.
Aw, thank you.
Let's go with that. So it's good that you're there. Then I try to give you more time because I think you're doing really well. I like it, so it's my taste of what I think is good. Well,
I love it, and it's my taste.
It's up there,
Yeah.
I go with my taste. Some girls get mad that, you only gave me 5 minutes. Well, you were bombing. I can't let you bomb for 10 minutes. I have to give you the light.
You normally know in the first minute if it's a go.
Yeah, you usually know in the first minute.
First 10 seconds.
First 10 seconds. In the Flappers video, you went up on stage and you were fumbling around. Then you intentionally bent over and you put your butt to the audience. I'm like, okay, that's really funny. You were there way too. Okay, that's funny.
Like, oh, I was speaking body language. I wasn't speaking.
Right, it's just funny. And not too many comics can actually go up there and be physically funny. Physically
That's
funny.
another
and
comedic talent. Yeah.
Vocally funny. Not everyone has that. And then sing also and be funny. Mm-hmm. It's that's good. So you have many different areas you can go as a comic. I used to do musical comedy, but I stopped doing it. I may start again, we'll see, but I stopped. It's too avant-garde for, I think, the audience, but we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens in the future.
Well, I love my karaoke.
Did you go do karaoke in character? Did you ever do that? That's one way to get stage time with your character. There was a guy, do you know who El Duce is? Do you know the Mentors? Do you know that band at all? They were an incredibly obscene LA band. And the singer, went by the name El Duce, he used to go out and do karaoke. And the guy is just the sleaziest guy on the planet. He's a little short guy, looks like a frog, has a big beer belly. And he'll go out to just places that are just filled with Asian people, and he'll sing the hits, and he'll just change all the lyrics to incredibly filthy, disgusting stuff.
Oh.
And he used to do that. There are tapes of him doing that, and he used to do that. So that might be a way just to get stage time for you, and also to get a good video. Like if you go to a place where you have an audience that's really square, and you go there and you go into your character and start doing that stuff, that would be fun. It might be a good video, for your show, is doing karaoke and having people be shocked. There's one of, oh God, what is his name? Man, now I can't remember the guy's Wheeler Walker Jr. Have you ever heard him? Oh,
No.
he's a comic, and he does this satirical country music singer named Wheeler Walker Jr.,
Oh.
who's a bisexual country guy that sings about liking to have oral sex with men and stuff like that. And he goes out and he's singing in front of a regular country audience and shocking them. It's a funny video. It's online.
Cool.
He actually debuted his album on Pornhub with a video with some nude women dancing around.
Oh, I've seen it on there.
And
I'm just kidding.
and he actually charted. His album made it to number 8 on the regular country music charts. And you should check him out, Wheeler Walker Jr. He's very funny.
I like the
country
name.
music satire.
Oh, like
It's
old
hilarious.
country? I like classic old country.
It's like, you know,
Or a mix.
country music, various
Not the new,
genres
not
of
the new
country
pop
music.
country.
And
Yeah.
it's all just usually offensive, disgusting lyrics, and it's very funny. I think it's very funny, and evidently a lot of other people do because he actually charted. I like it when I see a comic that I like do really well, you know, like actually make it. Like this
Right.
guy's good. Like he had one show on his regular name. Now I forget his regular name. On Comedy Central for one season, and it got canceled. And it's good. I've seen the clips of it that are online available. And then he reemerged with this character of Wheeler Walker Jr. as a country music singer. And he's been on Joe Rogan, being interviewed. He stays in character the whole time. He's on there, and he's doing well, so that's good. But it's like, on the other hand, you know, how many dirty country songs can you really think of?
A lot.
There's a lot.
Yeah.
And he's been through it all. But it's like, okay, you know, listening to them is like, all right.
It's endless, actually.
You're reaching. Yeah, well, he has like, I guess, 4 albums of it. And there was a whole genre before of more underground dirty country songs. There were people that had mainstream country music careers signed on Columbia or Island Records or whatever. And then they also sold like dirty country songs and things that are called trucker tapes. And you used to be able to find those in truck stops. And they were just called truly tasteless tunes. And it would be these dirty country songs and non-PC kind of country songs. And they were just done by mainstream country artists on the side under aliases or just anonymous people. And then also there was a guy who used to do it in the back of, he used to put ads in the back of biker magazines and gun magazines and any kind of tasteless magazine and porn magazines that would say like Songs of the South, and they would have, you know, the rebel flags, and they would do very un-PC and very filthy country songs. Wait, and this is the guy who wrote the song "Take This Job and Shove It."
Oh, yeah.
And that was
This job and shove it.
and that was a song that was just sandwiched on one of his major label records as, you know, song number 8, you know, on side number 2, and didn't really make any noise. And his album came out and he, you know, got enough sales to keep him on the label. But then Johnny Paycheck heard it, who was a big country singer, said that's a hit song, and re-recorded it and made it into a hit. And then Dolly Parton sang it, and then they had it in the movie.
She sang that?
Yeah. There was a movie called "Take This Job and Shove It,"
Oh, I don't remember.
and she sang it,
Dolly.
and it became a hit. And so he lived off the royalties from that the rest of his life. He's still around.
You gotta have him on your show.
If I could, that'd be hard. He probably lives in Texas somewhere. He's getting into his 70s. You know, there's lots of people I'd love to have on this show, but I tried to get like some rock musicians that I like. I'm working on it. I'm trying to expand the show a little bit. Rock musicians, because it's easy, I'll come to where you live and we'll sit in a cafe,
Right.
Rock musicians or I tried to have Rick Agnew. You know who Rick Agnew is? You're not a fan of punk rock. If you're a fan of punk rock, you know who Rick Agnew
Depends,
is.
like old
He's
punk rock, yeah.
He's was the guitarist of the Adolescents and Christian Death and DI, and he.
I'm sure I've heard some of their songs. I don't know that. I'm like an '80s freak.
80s freak.
Yeah.
This was the '80s. The Adolescents were a big punk band in the '80s. They had a hit song called Amoeba, and then DI. Probably their most famous song was Richard Hung Himself. And
what a beautiful song!
It's a beautiful ballad of love. And well, that's the thing about punk rock is that's the only genre of music where you could sing about certain things. Like there's one of my favorite punk rock songs is called "My Dad's a Fucking Alcoholic," and there wasn't really a genre of music where you could sing about that before. Maybe country music, maybe blues, but then you never complained about it.
Right.
You talked about it in reverent terms. What a good drinker your dad was. It wasn't about saying this is really causing a problem in my life. And what was your inspiration for your character, for Kitty Fairlane?
Marilyn Monroe. I love old Hollywood. Classic pinup girls, Betty Page, and I just always loved that. And I ended up adopting a cat, which I was never a cat person, but I fell in love with her. And then I was taking improv classes at Second City, and I was like, I'll write a little sketch about my pussy. How beautiful my pussy is, how men love her and can't keep their hands off her. So I wanted to do it more old Hollywood.
Right.
To talk about, a double entendre.
Right.
So I was going with more Marilyn, but she's too sultry. Like I was doing the, ooh, you want to touch my pussy? Men just love her. They just can't keep their hands off her. But it was too sexy.
Uh-huh.
And then I went for more Jane Mansfield, that kind of high voice register, and then found it within my voice what worked naturally. And
I was like, ooh, men just love my pussy. They just can't keep their hands off her. They say she's the prettiest pussy they ever met. And she smells so good.
So then that worked. It was more playful than ultra sexy.
Exaggerated.
So more based on Jane. And then when I was doing my shows, people were like, oh, you remind me of Betty Boop. And I was like, I didn't know who Betty Boop was.
Oh, really?
No, I didn't. Because I think she's from the 50s.
No, that's like 1920s.
But then I Googled her, and I thought it was, I just saw a sketch, like, cartoon of her, but I didn't know it was a cartoon show. Like, I didn't know that. So then I Googled that, and then I was like, oh my God, similar voice, but I wasn't going for that at all. But the whole love out of my character came from adopting a cat.
Right.
And to share how much I loved her and like, oh, that would be cute to talk about her, but in a sexy way. And then it just got bigger, and then I came up with the name, not because of a cat, which is weird. I was going through all my CDs. I have like tons of old country, blues, jazz, 80s, just all kinds of stuff. And I was a huge Columbia BMG freak. So, back in the day, if you order 3 CDs, you get 25 for $1, right? So I ordered all different kinds of genres of music. So now I have a huge library of CDs.
Right.
So I was looking for a name for my character, and just out of my head, I couldn't come up with anything. And I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna start looking at my titles of CDs because, like for instance, Michael Jackson. Like a lot of people name their kid Jackson,
Right.
or Johnny Cash. My son's name's Cash. Like they use the last name as the first name. So I'm like, maybe I'll find something kitschy, fun, and probably mix two last names to come up with the name. And then I came across Kitty Wells.
Uh-huh.
I was like, oh, Kitty. And then and that worked, but I didn't do that because I have a cat. It was completely unrelated, but it was more playful.
Right.
And then I've heard of, Miss Kitty before, that kind of name, for like burlesque and stuff like that. And then I think there was a character on Gunsmoke too. Someone told me about, which I didn't know. And then I came up with the last name, Fairlane, because I was trying to come up with something with the vintage charm. And I love Cadillacs, Elvis's pink Cadillac. But it was like Kitty Cadillac, nah, that's too on the head.
Right.
Coming up with vintage cars, I love vintage cars, and then it came up Kitty Fairlane. And I was like, Fairlane, and then I was going by Kitty Fairlane for a few years, and then I added Miss Kitty.
Right.
So it's Miss Kitty Fairlane.
Right.
And I prefer, if I'm going to, because a lot of people can't, or when they do flyers, can't put the full name. So it's like I'd rather have Kitty Fairlane than Miss Kitty because there's so many, Miss Kitties. So that's how I came up with that, just from doing a sketch. And then I wasn't even doing stand-up. I was doing comedy and improv. And then on LA Casting, I saw this thing they were going on for just female comics audition,
right.
And then a competition. And if you win a part in a comedy, a SAG film.
Uh-huh.
So I was like, well, I don't do stand-up, but I have 3 minutes of this improv sketch I did. Maybe I can do that, but I was scared, shitless. I'm like, oh my God, stand-up. So, and then I wrote a few songs to add to it. Because it's like, okay, I had 3 minutes, but I was like, holy shit, 3 minutes? That's like a lifetime. And so I used my sketch and added a song at the end and performed there. And I didn't get it. I wasn't asked for anything, but a woman in the crowd saw me who was also auditioning. And she took my card and loved my stuff.
You should go to Flappers audition. They could probably book you there. I'm sure they would.
Oh, I've been there.
Have you been there?
Yeah. Yeah, that's where you saw my video.
Send in your avail.
Yeah, I did a show with them last month. But, then I did a show at the Ice House, too.
That's good.
Last month, yeah. So I've done the Comedy Store, Ice House, Improv, Laugh Factory, Flappers, little places, too. But love that. And then worked with Hell's Bells Burlesque for 3 years, where they would do shows, and I was like the comedic person in their set.
That's
so
good.
I've also incorporated burlesque, but it's more funny burlesque.
There's a lot of burlesque shows out there. I think that would be good. And I think those girls get paid in those shows. They
Not
don't?
really.
Not really? That's too bad.
It depends. It's like it's the same thing with musicians here and stand-up comedy. It's like you might, but rarely.
L.A. Nobody gets paid in L.A.
Yeah,
that's
pretty
a
much.
big problem.
Yeah.
That's a saying here in L.A. in comedy. Nobody gets paid in L.A. When I get people for the show, I write, I'll write, you want to do this show? And they're like, how much? Sometimes I'll get back.
No, I'm okay.
How much is the pay? Can I give you my card? Okay.
Thank you, honey.
Sure. And I write them back, no way, no pay, no one gets paid in L.A. And
but we're also not doing this to get paid. I would have given up the first year. I've been doing this 8-9 years,
right.
And I'm still going for it. I'm doing it because I love it, and it gives me a high. Yeah, I'd love to get paid. It'd be, oh, great, but I have my day job.
Yeah.
I'm a stylist. I do costumes for TV, but this is what I was made to do, and I didn't know I'd be doing stand-up. But anyways, the woman asked me to do a show at the Ice House.
Yeah, stand-up. No, stand-up. That's definitely the thing.
And then, so from that audition, she asked me to do the Ice House. Like 2 months later, I got a text, "Hey, you want to do the Ice House?" And I was like, "Oh my God, I'm so scared." I told my friend, I'm like, "I don't know if that's so scary. 8 minutes? Oh my God." She's like, "You have to do it." So then I did it. And then Vargas Mason, he was the headliner there. Then he asked me to come to the Comedy Store. I not auditioned, but I did a show there that went great. And then I got to the main room, and then I was doing the main room. And it just happened, and I didn't even plan it. So if someone said, "You're going to be doing stand-up in the future," I'd be like, "You're fucking crazy."
Right.
But I also play an alter ego.
Well, you seem very confident.
No, I am. I'm very, I love what I do, and it's fun, and it's like a one-woman show. It's my own little show within a show. So it's great making up stuff. I'm not your standard comedian at all. Like, "Hey, how you doing tonight?" So this guy walks into a bar,
Yeah, a lot of people don't do characters in stand-up, and sometimes it's looked down upon, or props, or whatever. But I like it. I'm completely open. I come to it from a performance art point of view. So I'm like, it doesn't
I'm doing
have to be
whatever
pure stand-up is supposed to be. But if you look at Louis C.K.
doing crowd work, audience work.
Yeah.
Making people laugh. It's like and
if you look at Louis C.K., that's just as much of a character. He's playing the comedic archetype, which is the haggard everyman with the weight of the world on his shoulders. And he's playing the average guy, and he dresses in. For most of his career, he was wearing just like a regular shirt and some pants, even work boots sometimes. But he wasn't a working class guy. Most of his life, he's been a highly paid writer for TV shows.
Oh.
So he's not a working class guy, but he plays that on stage. He plays a working class everyman.
Well, it's like an SNL character. It's like you.
On stage. It's just as much of a character as everybody else. He dyes his hair red. It's gray. He dyes it red. And, he cuts his hair in a certain way and acts a certain way. So it's just as much of his developed character as, Dice or what you're doing or anything else.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it makes me happy. So, and I'm not hurting anybody. So.
Yeah, it makes you happy. You're not hurting anyone. You're making other people happy too. So, I hope.
Well, that's the main thing, because when I make other people laugh, it makes me happier.
Well, I'll continue to book you, and as long as I have that, ability to book people, and I do other shows too. Right now, this is better for me because I'm not running this show, and I don't have to deal with it as much.
Right.
I used to go and find a place.
It's every Sunday, right?
No, it's every other Sunday or every 3 Sundays.
Oh, okay.
Because today's Sunday, and it's not tonight. It's next Sunday.
Okay.
But it's just up to him whenever he can do it, and that's good for me because I used to go and find places where I would do my own shows, and I would deal with everything.
Yeah.
And this is better because I don't have to deal with as much. I'm just booking people and putting them up. But I need to make sure that I take more time for myself up there and do a set. Because sometimes I've got so many people to put up, I'm not even doing a set for myself.
Well, you need
I need to do that.
That's your show.
It's my show. So I just have to make sure that I go up there and take time for myself. And it's one of the reasons I do it. But it's good.
At least get a new line in there each time,
I usually do a show for a while, and then I'll get burned out, and I'll stop,
Right.
And then that's always good because I see a lot of people who promote shows, and they put themselves on the stage with good comics, and they're not really good. They think they're good, and then everyone's telling them they're good because they want to get booked on their show. And they have this delusion about themselves that they're really good comics, and then they'll hire other comics and put them on at the Comedy Store to be on the stage with them. I'm just like, and I see those comics and they're not good, but they think they're good, and they're putting
but they're
themselves
good
up on
for
stage
someone
with
else who
professional
likes
comics.
them, though. That's the
Yeah,
thing. We don't all have the same personality.
People look at a lot of promoters and promote shows, and they say they agree with that assessment, that they're not as good as the people they're putting them up there with. And one of the reasons, so I don't want to be that person, so I always quit doing my show, go back into the open mic scene and grind open mics again and again and again, and shitty bar shows, and just do it over and over and over again and try to improve as a comic. I don't want to be putting myself up in an ideal situation where I'm thinking that I'm better than I am, Because when you do a show...
Well, we're always learning, too. We can always be better. See,
yeah.
The thing is, with stand-up, you can get a little cocky, and then the next show, the audience, you crumble. Like, it's hard.
Yeah.
And then you're kind of scared to go back the next time, and then you kick ass.
You're only as good as your last
to,
show.
But it also humbles you to not be cocky, because you may have the energy right before you hit the stage, and and the timing, but the audience doesn't get it that night, and then the next night your timing could be a little off and the audience totally gets it and you're like in. So it's it keeps you humble, and you should
Yesterday I did comedy in a parking lot.
All right.
I opened up in a parking lot yesterday, and it was difficult. We were outside of a business in a parking lot. There were cars going by, and people there. There were tables and chairs, and I did well. But it's difficult. It's good to always put yourself in those difficult situations. I tell people, the harder the set, the better. The more you're going to learn.
Well, down the road, you might end up in a parking lot you didn't plan, but you're like, I already did a parking lot.
I already did a parking lot before.
Right.
That's
well,
why
when I do music too, sometimes the DJ, not even the DJ, but the person who's in charge of it really doesn't know the sound system.
Yeah.
And they can't play the music. And I'm like, oh, so I've got songs in my back pocket if I need to sing them a cappella.
Right.
To get the audience involved or have them clap or snap their fingers, But that's scary, but it's like you need a backup plan. So it's good.
Right.
It didn't work. Otherwise, I wouldn't have had the backup plan without my song.
You could also as a backup plan, you could have a boombox and just hook it up if you have to that. I know
Well, just my cell, or put my cell up to the phone.
Bring a speaker with you just in case you can't do it. Like a speaker that you can hook your phone into and play the music. If the sound guy doesn't know what he's doing and can't hook you up, you could do that. And to make sure the backup plan, I do that at the place where we go up. Sometimes the DJ's late, so I bring my own sound system that's in the trunk of my car, just to start out with, just to make sure we've got it. We can start the show on time. Otherwise, we'd have to wait an hour for the DJ to get there.
Right, or if the sound person's late. Yeah. But just always have a backup.
Always have a backup plan all the time. And a way to get to the show, a backup plan to get to the show, I give this excuse, my car is broke. Well, don't you have a friend with a car? Isn't there a bus or a plate or a trade to get you there? I used to not have a car, and
or my car's in the shop and they text you at 9 p.m.
Yeah.
Didn't you know this before they close, like at 5 or 6?
Didn't you know that? Right. So it's like
it's
you don't
okay.
have a friend
The people
with a car.
that are struggling to keep making people laugh and showing up will succeed.
Hopefully we'll succeed.
Succeed in our own way, because we're not giving up. So please hire me.
No, I can see you getting hired. I can see you getting hired on a sitcom, playing a character. I can see that character as getting hired. You should be in the casting offices as that character and as that person, You know, someone could see
Well, I'm trying
that
to work on
hire you.
my Miss Kitty Fairlane show, because if I do a show on a sitcom as Miss Kitty Fairlane, it's kind of a oneer.
Yeah, well, you know,
And I don't want it to be a oneer.
You
Like,
could just be as the character of Miss Kitty Fairlane
and then take her
as a
everywhere.
waitress,
All right.
or as the wacky neighbor, or as, you know, someone who's on a date, or the friend, the wacky friend,
Yeah.
you know, that's just there, you know, and...
Well, you got to see my show on YouTube, though. The Miss Kitty Fairlane show.
You could do that.
I'm Joyce Westergaard. That's my real name.
You could be a character in a Woody Allen movie doing that, you know, someone that Woody Allen's dating or something like that. Anything. Someone that
just
Dice
quirky.
is dating.
Yeah, quirky.
You know?
Or Brad Pitt. Brad Pitt's
Or
dating.
Brad Pitt. Or, you know, someone who's selling dresses in a dress store. Or,
right.
you know, anything.
I'll
you know,
take
it could
it,
be
man.
anywhere.
Let's go.
Because that character, if you just take that character and that voice and apply it to anything, it'll work just fine. So anyway, how long have we been doing this? Let's see what we got here. I think this is going to be the end for us. We've been doing this for an hour.
Thanks for
12
listening.
minutes. So tell everyone where you can be found online. What is your...
Well, you can just Google Miss Kitty Fairlane. And I'm on YouTube, my own little YouTube page, and subscribe. And I have cute little videos. And I perform all over the streets of Hollywood, back alleys, car seats. I'll even do it, you know, in the dirt. But I perform all over.
Twitter?
Yeah, I'm on
Instagram?
Twitter. Yeah, I'm on Twitter and Instagram. I'm on Instaham.
So just look on
Baseballs.
Miss Kitty Fairlane on Twitter and Instagram.
Miss Kitty Fairlane, that's
Okay.
right.
All right, so thank you very much for being on Pod Potato, and we'll see you next time.